There was a man from Zhejiang province named Ning Kaichen, known for his honesty, generosity, and straightforward nature. One day, while on a business trip to Jinhua City, he stopped to rest at a temple on the northern outskirts. The temple, once grand, was now overgrown with weeds and looked deserted. There was a large pond, covered with a mass of water lilies in full bloom. Ning found the quiet charm of the place appealing and decided to stay there for the night. He went for a walk, waiting to see if any monks would return. As evening approached, a sturdy man arrived at the temple. Ning greeted him politely and explained that he wished to stay there. The man replied, "There's no one in charge here. I'm just a temporary guest myself. But if you enjoy the peace and quiet of this place, I'd be happy to share it with you." Ning was glad to find such a welcoming companion. That night, under the bright moonlight, they sat in the temple courtyard, talking and getting to know each other. The man introduced himself as Yan Qixia. After a friendly conversation, they wished each other good night and went to bed. Just as Ning was about to fall asleep, he sensed someone enter his room. To his surprise, he saw a beautiful young woman standing there. He asked what she wanted, and she smiled, saying, "It's such a bright night, and I couldn't sleep. I thought I'd sleep here with you." Ning replied sternly, "You shouldn't say such things. We need to be careful about what others might think. If we do something wrong, we'll lose our honor." The woman insisted, "It's the middle of the night, no one will know." But Ning rebuked her again. When she still didn't leave, he threatened to call for the man staying in the south wing of the temple. Hearing this, the girl became frightened and started to leave. However, before going, she placed a gold ingot on his bed. Ning threw it outside and said, "I won't be tainted by such evil things." The girl picked up the gold and left, muttering, "That man has a heart of stone." The next day, a man from the nearby town of Lanxi, in Jinhua for his provincial exams, came to stay in the temple's east wing. That night, his servant found him dead, with a small wound on the sole of his foot, as if pierced by a needle. The cause of his sudden death was a mystery. The following night, the servant also died in the same way. When Yan Qixia returned to the temple, Ning told him about the two strange deaths. Yan commented that it might be the work of ghosts or demons. Ning, being a strong-willed man, wasn't too disturbed by the events. That night, the same girl visited Ning again. She said, "I've met many men, but none as strong-willed and unshakable as you. I can't lie to you anymore. My name is Xiao Qian. I died when I was 18, and my body is buried near this temple. An evil spirit controls me, forcing me to seduce men and do shameful things. There's no one left in the temple to harm but you, and I'm afraid the spirit will come for you next. It will take the form of a yiksha demon." Ning, frightened, asked what he should do. Xiao Qian advised him to sleep in Yan Qixia's room, as spirits feared him. When Ning asked how she usually deceived people, Xiao Qian explained that she pricked their foot to make them unconscious and then collected their blood for the demons. If people resisted, she tempted them with gold, which was made from demon bones. Those who kept the gold would have their hearts and livers taken. Grateful for her honesty, Ning asked when he needed to be cautious. Xiao Qian replied, "Tomorrow night." Before leaving, she tearfully asked Ning for a favor, to gather her bones from beneath a white poplar tree and give her a proper burial in his hometown. Ning agreed. With these words, she went out through the door and vanished into the night. The next day, Ning asked Yan if he could spend the night in his room. At first, Yan refused, but Ning was so persistent that Yan eventually agreed, warning Ning not to touch a box he kept by the window. He said, "If you open it, we'll both suffer." Ning promised not to. That night, Ning couldn't sleep, while Yan snored loudly. Around midnight, Ning saw a shadow approach the window, followed by two glowing eyes. Just as Ning was about to wake Yan, a bright object flew out of the box, slashed through the air like a streak of light, and struck the stone above the window. It then returned to the box, and Yen woke up. Pretending to be asleep, Ning watched as Yen examined the box and took out a small sword that shone in the moonlight. Yen explained, "I'm a swordsman with special powers. If not for the stone, the spirit would have died. But it's wounded now." The next morning, Ning saw traces of blood outside the window. He went to the northern part of the temple, where he found a row of old graves and a white poplar tree with a crow's nest. After finishing his business in Jinhua, Ning prepared to return home. Yen gave him a farewell banquet and a worn leather bag, saying, "This magic bag once served as a sword scabbard. Keep it safe, it will protect you from evil spirits." Under the pretense of exhuming a relative, Ning dug up Xiaoqian's bones, wrapped them, and hired a boat for the journey home. His family house was near the countryside, and he buried her bones outside his studio, made offerings, and recited a prayer. That night, Ning hung the magic bag outside his door. Suddenly, a demon appeared, crawling toward the doorway with blazing eyes. It tried to tear at the bag, but the bag expanded, and something monstrous inside it pulled the demon in. The bag then shrank back to its original size. At this moment Xiaoqian appeared, rejoicing, "We're saved." She thanked Ning, saying, "You're a man of honor. My time in the ghost realm is over. I'll repay your kindness in our next lives." With a heavy heart, Ning watched as Xiaoqian vanished into the night, leaving him with a sense of sadness.